we're in that time of the year where it's holidays and the Christmas holidays are coming up. And for me, the Christmas holidays is like my favorite holiday for the year. You can put it in the chat if you're all, it's also your favorite holiday. And we'll be sharing some interesting things about tips for the healthy eating during holidays. Because we know when it comes down to the holidays, sometimes we get a little worried about, a little stressed out about that. But before we get into that, I just want to know when you think of the Christmas holidays, what comes to your mind? Because for me, I think about family, friends, think about eating as well, just having fun. So we'd love to know. You can type it in the chat. What comes to your mind when you hear about Christmas holidays? So I agree. You'll hear different things like family first gathering, Christmas cake, especially the fruit cakes, cookouts, the drinking, maybe have some work parties as well. So different things. So all these exciting things are happening in the Christmas holidays, and other things can happen as well. So with all this excitement, sometimes it comes with a little pressure and some stress when maybe traveling from one place to the other, to maybe it's flying or driving to look for families. Think about parties, big meals, and sometimes this can happen at work or at home. And there's a lot, the environment changes than what we're used to. And especially for someone who has diabetes, right, it can become a little bit challenging faced with all these different things. And these pressures or the different foods and everything, that excitement can make it a little bit more difficult to stay on track with managing blood sugar levels. But what tends to happen during the during this time? Sometimes it can be that often you might see that you overindulge a little bit. The portion size is just not being keeping in mind anymore. Might want to treat yourself, and again, sometimes it can go a little bit overboard and can cause the sugar levels to just be a little bit higher than we want. So it can happen short term and can cause effect as well as long term. But let me tell you that today, by being here, is a big step. Whether or not you have diabetes, but you might be someone that you know, and these tips also can also apply whether or not you have, whether or not you struggle with high blood sugar levels or not. And so by being here is learning, and as that it's really about increasing your awareness, education. You never know how helpful it can become. So one of the things that I also mentioned, want to talk about what do you experience sometimes during the holidays is, have you ever known anyone who during the holidays might overeat and realize they get a little bit of heartburn afterwards or bloating area feeling, and sometimes that can happen from the overeating as well. And so I want to reduce feeling that discomfort while helping to manage those blood sugar levels. So the main aim of this presentation is to share some tips with you that can help that you can enjoy the holidays, the time with family, enjoy the good food that took a lot of time to cook and prepare for you, and also do all of that while still keeping your blood sugar levels in check, right? So that is the aim for today. And so when we look at it in different sections, right? Looking at how to plan for it, so before the actual eating time or the day, and during the time when all that meal is prepared, and after. So just taking it step by step. So before we dive into those three different sections, let's take a look at something you have to be mindful of before, during, and after the celebration. Remember your medications and blood sugar checks. So again, during the excitement of the holiday, sometimes it can, medication can slip your mind, and have to remember, and then maybe you leave it or maybe forget to take it. And things, medications, and taking them as prescribed really can be crucial, especially if you have diabetes. You want to be ensure you're keeping on top of those, especially during the holidays where the eating sometimes may not be as good as you'd want it to be. So one of the things you can do is set like a reminder to remind, if you're traveling, set a reminder to bring your medication, make a note of it, travel with it. If you're flying, don't put it in your check bag, keep it with you so you have easy access to it. Take your medication as prescribed. Again, want to talk with your physician just so have a plan. And then let's say you're going to visit a family, you want to bring your medication with you, set an alarm to remind you to take it. Again, when you're having so much fun, sometimes it can slip your mind. Then another thing you can do as well is check your blood sugar levels regularly, maybe even a little bit more than you usually do. So checking it throughout the holidays to see if how your blood sugar levels are, right? Especially if you're on certain medications, want to make sure you're checking the blood sugar level with your medication as well, right? You don't want it too high or too low. And this is why it's so important you have that discussion with your doctor, so that because they would have an idea of how your sugar levels are and how they respond, so they can create a nice little plan with you when going into the holiday season. So before the holiday, it's planning ahead, right? A lot of times, so planning ahead. So what are you thinking of preparing? And looking at the recipes itself, is there a way that this recipe can be a little bit healthier, like less sugar, less fat as well? How can you make it healthier? Now, sometimes you can find it in cookbooks or on the internet as well. So sometimes the internet can be nice and helpful, so it can give you some healthier alternatives to the recipe itself. So, for example, switching out sugar with applesauce that still maintains a nice flavor, and it doesn't, and it's a little bit less sugar than if you had used just the sugar in the recipe. Next, take a look at what method are you using to cook the meal. So, is it that you're frying it, or is there air frying and it usually requires a lot of oil? But is there some way that you can do it healthier? Maybe air frying or baking. So these are different things that you can look. And by planning ahead, it gives you enough time to check these things out. So if you realize so if you still like fried chicken, the only thing you're switching is how you cook it. So you do the air fryer, which uses way less oil, and so you get to enjoy that same flavor that you like, but without the high fatty ingredients. The other thing as well, here you'd also see don't forget the vegetables. I know when the holiday season comes in, it's one of those times when tend not to want to eat any vegetables at all, trying to get everything else, all those nice, tasty food. But I tell you that vegetables can be just as delicious too. So you don't have. So when you're thinking about vegetables, is there a way you can spice it up? Like by seasoning it, putting it in the oven, roasting it. There's so many different ways you can spice up vegetable and fruits that they taste amazing. And adding it to your plate can be very beneficial for blood sugar levels, right? Because it helps to keep a more stable blood sugar level instead of causing that dramatic spike, which is where more persons have that uncontrolled problems with their blood sugar levels. So remember, vegetables can be your friend and they can taste amazing. Now, there's also this as well. You can also so when you've talked about it, what if you're not cooking at home? And what if you're going to visit a friend somewhere else to have that holiday dinner or a family member? Another option as well is you might not if you may want to reach out and find out what they are cooking, have an idea, but you can also be that one person that brings a nice healthy dish that you prepared or you bought. Again, you can create something that's really nice and tasty that you like and is low in sugar, low in fat, and very nutritious as well. Let's see. So planning your meals and snacks ahead of time can be very useful as well, as you'd have seen, giving you some examples ahead, just looking for those recipes. This comes very handy when you're traveling as well. So a lot of times, if you're traveling like long distances, driving or flying, and you stop on the road to buy something, it can be difficult to find those foods that don't cause a big impact on your sugar levels. And so sometimes what you can do is plan snacks ahead of time and carry them with you so you have them handy. And so that is where all that planning comes into play here. So what you're seeing so far, and I hope you're seeing, is that you're not depriving yourself you're not restricting yourself, not feeling deprived. It's more like identifying certain foods that you enjoy, but you're finding another way where you can make it healthier, and instead of making it healthier, and you can still enjoy it. And as you go further in the presentation, you'll see how what if you can't find a recipe swap, right? How you can still enjoy that 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 food that is there. So that is the planning before, and that was your first tip right there. And that is the planning before the actual event.